Here's the text you requested. In a world that spins faster every day, where notifications, deadlines, and anxieties pile higher than mountains, a simple question quietly arises. Is there one practice so powerful, so accessible, that it could reconnect you to your truest, deepest self, even in the middle of chaos? The answer is astonishingly simple. It requires no money, no special training, no pilgrimage to distant lands. It is the oldest practice known to humankind, and perhaps the most overlooked. The practice is this: become aware of your breath, not control it, not manipulate it. Simply observe it, the gentle rising and falling like the waves of a vast and eternal ocean. The Buddha himself taught, breathing in long, he knows, I breathe in long. Breathing out long, he knows, I breathe out long. Anapanasati Sutta, MN 118. And modern spiritual masters like Eckhart Tolle echo the same timeless truth. Awareness of breathing is the vehicle to presence. Yet in today's frantic world, this sacred wisdom often feels distant, buried under layers of overthinking, worry, and disconnection. What would happen if we dared to reclaim it? Setting the stage, why we are spiritually starving everywhere you look today. People are searching frantically, desperately, for something they can't quite name. They chase careers, relationships, experiences, addictions from smartphones to substances grip millions. A creeping sense of meaninglessness poisons modern life. But there is a way back, and it begins, quite simply, with the breath. You don't have the gateway to now. Why the breath? Why not some complicated ritual, some mystical secret known only to a few? Because the breath is always available. It is non-conceptual. You don't have to think about breathing. You are breathing. And it is directly linked to the body, anchoring awareness into the living present. In Buddhist meditation, particularly Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, the breath is seen as the golden thread that leads the practitioner back to the eternal now. As the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh writes, breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. When you observe the breath, not forcing it, not analyzing it, but simply feeling it, something profound happens. Attention shifts. It moves from the endless stream of thought to the vibrant, silent aliveness of this very moment. In that shift, even if only for a few seconds, the mind loses its tyrannical grip. You awaken, however briefly, from the dream of thinking. You touch the source, you return to yourself, and with practice, those fleeting glimpses expand into a new way of being. Part 1, awakening to the inner body beyond breath, feeling the aliveness within. Once you become attuned to the breath, a new doorway silently opens. You begin to notice something even deeper, the subtle energy field that animates your entire body. This is what Eckhart Tolle calls inner body awareness, and it echoes a profound teaching from Buddhist and yogic traditions, that beneath the turbulence of thoughts, beneath the noise of emotions, there is a silent, vibrant, living presence. The Buddha taught his monks not just to observe the breath, but to contemplate the body itself. He abides contemplating the body as a body, ardent, clearly comprehending, and mindful. Satipatthana Sutta, MN 10. Notice, the body is not an idea. It is not an image in your mind. It is a living reality, here and now. By placing gentle attention inside the body, feeling the inner aliveness in your hands, your chest, your belly, you start breaking the mind's spell. You shift from thinking about life to being life itself. Eckhart Tolle describes this beautifully. Direct your attention inward to the energy field of your body. Feel it from within. It is the doorway into being. And the Buddha, 2,500 years earlier, said, there is in this body a city with gates, guarded by awareness, wherein lies the mind, a sage, a ruler of all. Samyutta Nikaya, SN 35, 238. In both teachings, we see the same sacred thread. The true refuge, the real liberation, is inside, not in future achievements, not in external circumstances. And what guards the gates to that inner city? Mindfulness. Sati, the Pali word for mindfulness, literally means to remember, to keep in mind the living reality of now. When you connect to your inner body, you are no longer lost in mental noise. You are rooted, you are anchored, you are free. Real-world example, athletes in flow states. This isn't just spiritual poetry. Modern science confirms it. Psychologists studying flow states, those peak experiences where action and awareness merge, find that elite athletes, artists, and performers naturally slip into body-based presence. When a gymnast soars through the air, when a basketball player feels the court without thinking, when a violinist loses herself in the music, they are not thinking about what they are doing. They are being what they are doing. Body awareness dissolves the inner critic. It silences the fear of future failure. It returns them to the timeless now. This is not different from what the Buddha described 2,500 years ago. Dwelling in the body, mindful and fully present, free from grasping or aversion. Buddhist perspective, the four foundations of mindfulness. In Buddhism, this deep engagement with the body is formalized in the Satipatthana Sutta, the four foundations of mindfulness. 1. Mindfulness of the body, Kaya. 2. Mindfulness of feelings, Vedana. 3. Mindfulness of the mind. 4. Mindfulness of mental objects, Dhamma. Notice that mindfulness of the body comes first. It is the gateway to all the others. Without grounding awareness in the body, mindfulness becomes abstract, stuck in the head. But when rooted in direct experience, in breath, in sensation, in the pulse of life, it becomes a living force, a sword that cuts through delusion. Mike, practical application, a simple inner body practice. Here's a simple practice you can try right now. 1. Close your eyes. 2. Take a slow, gentle breath. 3. Bring your attention into your hands. 4. Feel, not imagine, the subtle, tingling, pulsing sensation inside your hands. Don't think about it. Don't try to make it happen. Simply notice it with open, relaxed curiosity. Then expand that awareness into your arms, into your chest, into your legs, into your whole body. Feel the field of aliveness, silent, vibrant, spacious. This is not just a relaxation technique. It is a direct portal into presence, the now, the timeless realm beyond thought. Why thought cannot touch the inner body. Here's the profound secret. Thoughts are time-bound. They exist in the past and future, memories, plans, worries, regrets. But the inner body exists only now. You cannot think your way into feeling your inner aliveness. You must become aware of it directly, beyond concepts. This is why, when you shift attention into the inner body, thinking naturally subsides. The more you dwell in the inner body, the more thought loses its compulsive grip, and the more presence, spacious, luminous awareness shines through. This is liberation. This is awakening. As the Buddha said, when the mind is well concentrated within, there is no coming or going, no death or rebirth, only the end of suffering. Anguttara Nikaya, AN 3, 32. Part 2, Transforming Emotional Pain Through Presence. The hidden enemy, emotional pain as unseen energy. So far, we've explored how awareness of the breath and inner body reconnects us to presence. But what happens when we encounter emotional pain, grief, anger, fear, shame? Eckhart Tolle speaks about the pain body, a term he coined to describe the accumulated emotional suffering that lives inside all of us. In Buddhism, a similar idea exists. This suffering is called dukkha, a deep, pervasive dissatisfaction rooted in clinging, aversion, and ignorance. The pain body, like dukkha, is an energetic entity that feeds on unconsciousness. It wants you to react. It wants you to identify with it. Why? Because every time you act out anger, resentment, or despair, the pain body strengthens itself. But if you bring presence to it, if you feel the emotional energy directly without mental commentary, something miraculous happens. The pain body cannot survive conscious awareness. The Buddha explained this beautifully in the Adita Pariyaya Sutta, the fire sermon. The eye is burning, the ear is burning, the mind is burning with the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. When the Buddha said burning, he meant the mind inflamed by unconscious reactivity. The solution? To observe the burning without adding fuel to the fire, without craving or aversion. In other words, stay present. Feel the fire without becoming the fire. Real-world story, Nelson Mandela's inner victory. Let's take a real-world example. Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years under brutal apartheid. Imagine the emotional pain, humiliation, isolation, injustice. A normal reaction would be hatred, bitterness, and revenge. But Mandela, during his long imprisonment, turned inward. He cultivated mindfulness, reflecting on forgiveness, compassion, and his own inner freedom. He later said, "As I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew that if I did not leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison." Mandela's greatest victory wasn't political, it was the inner victory over the pain body. By staying present with his suffering instead of identifying with it, he became a global symbol of peace. Practical application: how to face emotional pain. When you feel emotional pain arise, 1. Pause. Stop whatever you are doing. Create a sacred space of stillness. 2. Feel the raw energy. Drop the story in your mind, "They betrayed me, this isn't fair," and simply notice the sensation in your body. 3. Breathe into it. Allow the feeling to exist. Welcome it, even if it burns. 4. Stay as the observer. You are not the pain. You are the spacious awareness in which the pain arises. This simple but profound shift from identification to observation frees you from suffering. As Eckhart Tolle says, suffering needs time. It cannot survive in the now. And the Buddha echoes, in seeing just the seen, in hearing just the heard, there is no you there. Thus, one is not agitated. Udana 1:10. The pain body is not personal. Another crucial insight: the pain body often feels personal, my sadness, my rage. But from a Buddhist view, nothing is truly personal. Everything that arises, thoughts, emotions, sensations, is conditioned by causes and conditions beyond your control. You didn't choose your childhood wounds, you didn't choose your ancestral trauma, you didn't even choose the weather or economic systems you were born into. Thus, when pain arises, it's not a personal failure, it's impersonal energy moving through you. This shift in perspective brings immense compassion for yourself and for others. Real-world story: Thich Nhat Hanh and the Vietnam War. Consider Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen master and peace activist during the Vietnam War. When his homeland was engulfed in violence, he didn't sink into hatred or despair. Instead, he taught, when you touch your anger deeply, you will realize its roots are not just in you perceive as the enemy, but in yourself, your ancestors, your society. He led mindful peace marches, encouraging people not to demonize others, but to recognize suffering as a shared human experience. Even in the face of unspeakable violence, he remained deeply present. He breathed, he walked, he healed. This is the essence of true courage, facing pain directly without creating more suffering. Buddhist deepening, the second arrow. In Buddhist psychology, there's a famous teaching called the 2 arrows. The first arrow is inevitable. Pain happens. Illness, loss, insult, these are part of human life. The second arrow is optional. The mental resistance, resentment, and self-pity we add to the first arrow. As the Buddha said, when touched by a feeling of pain, the uninstructed worldling sorrows, grieves, and laments. But when the well-instructed disciple is touched by the same pain, he does not sorrow, grieve, or lament. 36. In simple words, you cannot always avoid pain, but you can avoid suffering about the pain. This is liberation through presence. Practical exercise. Here's a simple method for working with emotional pain. The sacred pause. 1. When pain arises, say silently, "Pain is here." 2. Pause. Stop any automatic reaction. 3. Feel the raw sensation in your body, heat, tightness, constriction, without labeling it. 4. Breathe slowly and deeply into the sensation. 5. Whisper inwardly, "This too is welcome." With practice, the sacred pause becomes a gateway to immense freedom. Instead of being consumed by pain, you contain it, you embrace it, you transmute it. As Eckhart Tolle beautifully puts it, what you accept completely, you go beyond. The alchemy of when you meet emotional pain with presence, you don't suppress it, you don't indulge it, you transcend it. The pain body loses its power. Dukkha begins to dissolve. You realize that at your core, you are not pain, you are not anger, you are not fear. You are the spacious, luminous awareness in which all phenomena arise and pass away. As the Buddha said, there is that sphere where there is no earth, no water, no fire, no air. There, consciousness is non-dual, boundless, luminous. Udana 8:1. And Tolle echoes, you are the light of presence, the silent watcher beneath all forms. Part 3, accessing the unmanifested, tasting the eternal. What is the unmanifested? In The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle often speaks about the unmanifested. It's a mysterious term. What does it mean? Simply put, The unmanifested is the formless source from which all forms arise. It is the timeless realm behind the play of appearances. You could call it pure being, emptiness, shunyata in Buddhism, God, without religious concepts, the ground of being. When you are totally present, utterly still inside, you briefly touch this unmanifested reality. Tolle describes it poetically. Stillness is the language God speaks, and everything else is a bad translation. Buddhist parallel, Nirvana as the unconditioned. In Buddhist teachings, there is a profound concept called Nirvana. Nirvana isn't a heaven. It's not a mystical land far away. Nirvana literally means blowing out, the extinguishing of the flames of greed, hatred, and delusion. It is the unconditioned, the end of becoming, the end of time, the end of suffering. You are in presence. Over time, the gaps widen, stillness deepens, the I begins to dissolve. You realize you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are the silent space in which they arise. Buddhist deepening, letting go of psychological time. Another key teaching from the power of now is freedom from psychological time. Psychological time is the mental habit of living in the past or future. Regret, guilt equals past. Anxiety, ambition equals future. The Buddha called this habit papanka, mental proliferation. He taught the past is gone, the future is not yet here. There is only this arising moment. Bhattacharya Sutta, MN 131. Tolle echoes, time isn't precious at all because it is an illusion. What you perceive as precious is not time, but the one point that is out of time, the now. When you abandon mental time and sink into now, you step into the unmanifested. You become timeless. Real-world story, Zen archery and the timeless shot. In traditional Zen archery, masters teach students not to aim or try to hit the target. Instead, they guide students to breathe, relax, empty the mind. The bow is drawn not by will, but by presence. The arrow releases itself, effortlessly. One Zen master said, when the archer forgets himself in the act of shooting, he becomes one with the arrow, the target, and the entire universe. This is a living metaphor for all of life. When you are fully present, life shoots the arrow through you. You move without strain. You speak without rehearsing. You act without fear. You become a channel for the unmanifested to flow into form. To summarize, the unmanifested is the formless source beyond birth and death. Every moment of deep presence connects you to it. By stepping out of mental noise, psychological time collapses. You taste your true nature. Boundless, deathless awareness. As the Buddha said, the liberated mind shines bright and unclouded like the clear sky. And Eckhart Tolle reminds us, the now is the portal, the unmanifested is your home. When you live from the timeless now, you walk lightly upon the earth, you suffer less, you love more deeply, and you move effortlessly with the flow of life. Part 4, Conscious Relationships, Seeing the Divine in the Other, the Mirror of Relationships. One of Eckhart Tolle's most profound insights is that relationships are not primarily about happiness. Instead, he teaches, relationships are here to make you conscious, not happy. At first, this seems counterintuitive. Don't we seek relationships to find love, comfort, and belonging? Yes, but deeper than that, relationships mirror to us our unconscious patterns, our attachments, our hidden fears, our deepest yearnings. The other person becomes a living reflection of our inner state. They reveal what we still need to heal. From a Buddhist perspective, this aligns with the teaching that life itself is a mirror, a projection of the mind, Siddhamatra. When you relate unconsciously, relationships become battlegrounds. When you relate consciously, relationships become sacred teachers. Real-world story, Thich Nhat Hanh and deep listening. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, the beloved Vietnamese monk, taught a powerful practice called deep listening, loving speech, and compassionate listening. He said, when you listen with the intention to relieve the other's suffering, even if they are angry at you, miracles happen. Thich Nhat Hanh trained young monks and laypeople to listen without defending, attacking, or judging. This radical presence turns arguments into healing. Even when a person is caught in anger or fear, your mindful listening can offer them a space of unconditional acceptance. In this way, the relationship becomes a doorway to liberation for both. Practical application: how to bring presence into relationships. Tolle outlines several key practices to transform relationships. 1. Observe your reactions. Instead of defending yourself immediately, notice, where do you tense up? Where do you feel triggered? What old story is being activated? This self-awareness breaks the chain of unconscious reactivity. 2. Let go of the need to be right. In many arguments, the real battle is not over facts, but identity. By surrendering the need to win, you preserve the sacredness of the connection. The Buddha said, "Victory breeds hatred, the defeated live in pain. Happily, the peaceful live, giving up victory and defeat." Dhammapada, verse 201. 3. Feel the inner body during conversations. While speaking or listening, stay anchored in the felt sense of your own body. This keeps you rooted in presence instead of drifting into mental noise. Buddhist deepening, the teaching of the two arrows. The Buddha once gave a beautiful teaching. When an ordinary person is touched with pain, they suffer twice. First, from the pain itself, the first arrow, and second, from their mental resistance to it, the second arrow. Salatha Sutta, SN 36.6. In relationships, the first arrow might be someone's harsh words. The second arrow is our mental story. They shouldn't treat me like this. This always happens to me. I'm a failure. Tolle teaches us to stay present with the first arrow, the raw sensation, without firing the second arrow of egoic resistance. Thus, pain remains pure and transient, not compounded into ongoing suffering. Real-world story, the Buddha and Angulimala. In Buddhist tradition, there's a powerful story of Angulimala, a fearsome bandit who had killed many and wore a necklace of fingers. When the Buddha encountered him, he did not run, attack, or condemn. He simply stood still, radiating presence. Angulimala shouted, "Stop, monk!" The Buddha replied, "I have stopped, Angulimala. It is you who have not yet stopped." In that moment, Angulimala's heart was pierced not by anger, but by awareness. He later renounced violence and became a saint. Lesson: when faced with unconsciousness, presence transforms more deeply than punishment ever could. Practical exercise on conscious communication practice. Here's a method to bring more presence into everyday conversations: the pause practice. 1. Before responding in any conversation, take one conscious breath. 2. Feel the inner body for a few seconds. 3. Then respond from stillness, not reactivity. This micropause creates a sacred gap, allowing true wisdom to flow rather than habitual ego patterns. Over time, this practice can completely transform the tone of your relationships. Deeper dive, accepting the pain body in others. Tolle introduces a brilliant term, the pain body. The pain body is the emotional residue of old suffering. It can lie dormant, get activated by certain triggers, take over a person temporarily. When someone is angry, defensive, bitter, often it's their pain body speaking, not their true self. Instead of attacking their pain body, which strengthens it, Tolle recommends recognizing it silently, not taking it personally, staying anchored in presence. In Buddhist terms, this echoes the principle of compassionate detachment. Like a log thrown onto the riverbank, let the insults float by, ungrasped, untouched, unclaimed. Samyutta Nikaya, SN 7.2. You see the suffering behind the behavior, and you choose not to add your own suffering to it. Real-world story, Nelson Mandela and the power of non-reactivity. After 27 years of unjust imprisonment, Nelson Mandela emerged from prison without hatred. He said, "As I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." Mandela met many of his former oppressors with dignity, not vengeance. This is presence in action. It's the refusal to let others' unconsciousness pull you into darkness. It's the living recognition that only inner freedom matters. Inner practical reflection, relationships as spiritual teachers. At the end of the day, you can ask yourself, what has this relationship taught me about myself? Where am I still reactive, defensive, fearful? How can I meet the other and myself with more compassion? Every person who triggers you is actually your spiritual ally, showing you where your inner work still lies. This radical reframe turns life into a living classroom. Love is presence. Ultimately, Tolle and the Buddha agree. Love is not a feeling. Love is presence. When you are truly present with another, without judgment, expectation, or clinging, you recognize the divine essence in them. You realize, beyond their roles and masks, they are pure being. Beyond your ego and theirs, there is no separation. There is only now, alive in both. As the Buddha said, seeing all beings as a mother sees her only child, let your loving kindness flow throughout the world. Metasutta. As Tolle said, true love is to recognize yourself in another. When you live relationships from this space, they cease to be sources of pain and conflict and become fields of awakening. Part 5, Surrender, the gateway to inner peace. The great misunderstanding about surrender. In our modern world, surrender is often misunderstood. People think surrender means giving up, being weak, accepting defeat. But Eckhart Tolle redefines surrender as something much more powerful. Surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to, rather than opposing, the flow of life. It is not passivity. It is not resignation. It is an active acceptance of what is, without mental resistance. In Buddhist language, surrender aligns closely with the practice of acceptance of the present moment, tatramajatara, equanimity. Where the ego resists reality, the awakened mind flows with it. Story: Viktor Frankl's radical acceptance. One of the most moving real-life examples of surrender is Viktor Frankl, the Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In the brutal concentration camps of Auschwitz, Frankl witnessed unimaginable suffering. Yet he realized something profound. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Frankl surrendered not to the Nazis, but to life itself as it was. He accepted the suffering without inner collapse. He found meaning even amidst horror. This surrender gave him a strength greater than physical might, the indestructible power of inner freedom. Practical application: how to practice surrender. Tolle offers simple but revolutionary guidance for daily surrender. 1. Say yes to the present moment. Even if you dislike the situation externally, internally say yes to it. This is what is. Resistance creates suffering. Acceptance creates space. 2. Feel your inner resistance. When you feel anger, frustration, or sadness arise, don't suppress it. Feel it fully in the body. Let it move through you. Watch it dissolve. This presence transmutes emotional energy into peace. 3. Surrender internally, then act externally. Acceptance doesn't mean you never act to improve a situation. It means your actions arise from clarity, not from unconscious reactivity. Buddhist deepening, the second noble truth in resistance. The Buddha's second noble truth teaches, the cause of suffering is craving and clinging. We crave for things to be different than they are. We cling to how we think life should be. Every moment we resist the present, we feed dukkha, dissatisfaction, unease, suffering. Surrender is the antidote to this. When you cease fighting life, you cease manufacturing your own pain. The Buddha taught, let go of attachments and you will find peace. Tolle simply echoes the same ancient wisdom in contemporary language for the modern heart. Real-world story, the Zen master and the broken cup. In Zen tradition, there's a famous story. A monk cherished his favorite teacup. One day, it slipped from his hands and shattered. At that moment, he smiled and said, "Ah, finally it's broken." He had already surrendered to impermanence long before it happened. Thus, when the inevitable came, he met it without sorrow. This deep acceptance of change is the heart of both Buddhist non-attachment and Tolle's surrender. We'll exercise the isness meditation. Here's a practice you can try anytime. The isness meditation. 1. Sit quietly. 2. Bring to mind a situation that troubles you. 3. Say inwardly, oh, this too is part of the present moment. Oh, let it be as it is. 4. Feel any resistance in your body and breathe into it. 5. Watch the softening that follows. Even a few minutes of this can radically shift your relationship to life. Deeper dive, the surrender experiment of Michael A. Singer. Another powerful contemporary example comes from Michael A. Singer, author of The Surrender Experiment. Singer decided early in life to surrender completely to whatever life brought, whether it was desirable or not. He gave up his personal preferences and trusted the flow. Over the years, this surrender led him from being a reclusive yogi to building a billion-dollar software company to facing and transcending public scandal. Through it all, his mantra remained, life knows better than I do. I surrender to its wisdom. Singer's journey proves that surrender is not weakness, it is profound alignment with the intelligence of the universe. Buddhist deepening, the teaching of anatta. At the core of Buddhist wisdom is the teaching of anatta, no fixed, separate self. When you realize there is no solid me to defend or protect, surrender becomes natural. You see that there is no isolated ego needing control. There is only the river of life flowing. You are a wave in that river, not apart from it. Tolle describes the same realization. When you surrender to what is, you realize you are not separate from the now. You are the now. Real world story, the life. The great Thai forest monk Ajahn Chah often taught his students with simple metaphors. Once, while holding up a glass, he said, "This glass is already broken. I enjoy it fully now, knowing its fragility." Ajahn Chah accepted sickness, loss, aging, and death with peaceful equanimity. He embodied surrender, not as despair, but as radiant freedom. His motto, "If it's not good, it's good." Meaning, whatever happens is part of the path, if you meet it with the right heart. Practical reflection. Where are you resisting life? Ask yourself, where do I feel ongoing tension? What am I refusing to accept? How am I saying no internally? Then gently inquire, what would it feel like to stop fighting? What peace might open up if I surrendered? You may find that the very thing you feared, powerlessness, was an illusion. True power flows from alignment, not opposition. In the end, Tolle reminds us, surrender is the inner transition from resistance to acceptance, from no to yes. And the Buddha reminds us, just as the great earth is patient with all that falls upon it, both the pure and the impure, so too should you cultivate patience and surrender. Sutta Nipata. When you live in surrendered presence, you are no longer fighting life. You are flowing with it, trusting its deep intelligence. You become like water, soft yet unstoppable, yielding yet indomitable, silent yet all-encompassing. In surrender, you don't lose your life. You discover it, free, boundless, and luminous. Part 6, The Illusion of Time and the Power of Now, How We Are Trapped by Time. In The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle makes a startling observation. Time isn't precious at all because it is an illusion. What you perceive as precious is not time, but the one point that is out of time, the now. Most human suffering, anxiety, and stress come not from what's happening right now, but from our mind's obsession with regretting the past. Worrying about the future, the mind lives in time, but life itself lives only in the now. This is why Tolle says, nothing ever happened in the past, it happened in the now. Nothing will ever happen in the future, it will happen in the now. Time is a mental construct, now is the living reality. Buddhist deepening. The timelessness of the Dharma. In Buddhism, this teaching is ancient and profound. The Buddha often described Dhamma, truth, as akaliko, timeless, beyond time. The Dharma is not something that evolves over centuries. It is always accessible in the present moment. When the Buddha attained enlightenment, he didn't discover some new fact. He awakened to reality exactly as it already was, the eternal suchness, tathata, beyond past and future. Thus, mindfulness, sati, isn't just remembering to be present. It is awakening into the timeless reality here and now. Real-world story, Alan Watts and the Dance of Life. Philosopher Alan Watts, heavily influenced by Zen and Taoism, often spoke about the illusion of time. He said, "The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves." Watts used the metaphor of dancing. In a dance, you don't rush toward a destination. You enjoy each step, each movement, right now. Life, he said, is not a journey toward the future. It's a dance to be enjoyed in the now. This is exactly Tolle's message, and it echoes the Buddha's invitation to live fully present with each breath, each step. Wonderful application. Offers practical ways to liberate yourself from the mind's time obsession. 1. Notice when your mind leaves the now. When you find yourself thinking, "I'll be happy when, if only I had done," recognize you've left the present. 2. Anchor in the body. Bring awareness to your breath, the feeling of your hands, the sensations of sitting or standing. The body only exists in the now, thus it can serve as a portal back to presence. 3. Use the past and future, practically, not emotionally. Planning is useful, regretting and worrying are not. Use time as a tool, but don't let time use you. Real world story, and peace is every step. Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully taught the art of living in the now. In his book, Peace is Every Step, he reminds us, smile, breathe, and go slowly. He taught walking meditation. With each step, say inwardly, "Oh, I have arrived. I am home." Home is not a place in the future. It is this moment, wherever you are. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. There is no future destination where you will finally arrive. The only arrival is now." Buddhist deepening. Of bhava. In Buddhist psychology, bhava refers to the mind's constant tendency toward becoming, striving toward a future self. I will be happy when I get promoted. I will find peace once I retire. I will be worthy when I achieve more. This endless becoming is the root of samsara, the cycle of suffering. The Buddha's path invites us to step off this treadmill by realizing the completeness of now. Tolle expresses the same insight. Don't seek to become free in the future. Realize you are free now. Real world story Ram Dass and Be Here Now. Spiritual teacher Ram Dass popularized this exact message in his famous book, Be Here Now. Ram Dass had been a Harvard psychologist steeped in intellectual achievement. But after psychedelic experiments and spiritual awakenings in India, he realized that true liberation was shockingly simple. Not in theories, not in accomplishments, not in future fantasies, but in being fully present with what is. He taught, the next message you need is always right where you are, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Practical reflection, noticing the psychological time addiction. Ask yourself, how often am I postponing happiness to a future condition? How often am I carrying the burden of past regrets? Then ask, what if this moment was enough? What if I didn't need to add anything to it? What if peace was available right here, right now? Such inquiry cuts through the mind's illusions like a sharp sword. Deeper insight, time and the ego. Tolle explains, time and mind are inseparable. Remove time from the mind, and it stops unless you choose to use it. The ego is built on psychological time. It clings to an identity formed by the past. It projects a better, perfected self into the future. Without time, the ego cannot survive. Thus, when you deeply inhabit the now, the ego dissolves, and what remains is pure, luminous being. This is the same as the Buddhist realization of anatta, no fixed self, and nibbana, the extinguishing of craving and clinging. Real-world story, Lao Tzu and the flow of the Tao. Ancient Chinese sage Lao Tzu, founder of Taoism, said, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. The Tao, the way, flows effortlessly, without striving, without rushing toward the future. Human beings, when aligned with the Tao, move gracefully with life's natural rhythms. This effortless action, Wu Wei, is possible only when we are free from the tyranny of psychological time." Thus, Lao Tzu's ancient wisdom, the Buddha's timeless teachings, and Tolle's modern guidance all point to the same truth. Now is the only reality. Everything else is a dream. Entering the eternal now. Tolle leaves us with this potent reminder. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. The Buddha said, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Dhammapada 3:48. When you awaken into the now, you step out of the wheel of suffering. You enter the doorway of eternal peace, the very heart of reality. You realize you were never separated from life. You were simply lost in a dream of time. Now you are awake. Part 7, the power of presence in relationships. Why relationships often fail, the absence of presence. Tolle makes a striking observation. As long as you are identified with your mind, you cannot truly love. Why? Because most human relationships are not based on true connection. They are based on needs, fears, expectations, unconscious patterns. When two egos interact, it's not two beings meeting in openness. It's two collections of stories, wounds, and demands. Thus, Tolle writes, most relationships become a continuation of the ego patterns and can become a source of pain. Instead of love, relationships often become battlegrounds power struggles, stages for acting out old traumas. Why? Because presence is missing. Buddhist deepening, attachment and the roots of suffering. The Buddha understood this long ago. He taught that attachment, upadana, is a core cause of suffering, dukkha. In relationships, attachment looks like, I need you to complete me. You must behave a certain way for me to be happy. If you leave me, I will be destroyed. Such clinging turns love into fear, companionship into control, affection into addiction. The Buddha's path is not about rejecting love, but about purifying love, transforming it from clinging to compassionate presence. Real-world story, the Dalai Lama's radiant compassion. The Dalai Lama embodies this. He meets everyone, from world leaders to humble villagers, with the same open, radiant warmth. Why? Because he is fully present with whoever stands before him. He is not seeking to extract validation, agreement, or advantage. He simply is and invites others to simply be. His love is not personal in the egoic sense. It is universal, an overflowing of awakened presence. Thus, his relationships are not sources of drama. They are fields of compassion. This is the potential of all human connection when presence replaces ego. Practical application, bringing presence into your relationship. Tolle offers powerful practices to transform your relationships. 1. Listen without mentally commenting. When someone speaks, don't immediately judge, plan your reply, or mentally argue. Just be there, empty, open, receptive. 2. Drop the story. See the person not through the lens of past grievances or future expectations, but as they are, right now. Every moment is new. Meet them freshly. 3. Feel your inner space. When emotions rise, irritation, hurt, anger, instead of reacting outwardly, feel the energy within your body. Hold it in awareness without acting on it. This creates inner spaciousness, which radiates outward as peace. Real-world story. And in deep listening. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught a practice called deep listening. He said, listen with only one purpose, to help the other person suffer less. Not to correct them, not to argue, not to defend yourself, just to be fully present and receive their being. Thich Nhat Hanh trained even political leaders in this art. He said it could transform conflicts, heal wounds, and build peace between nations. If deep listening can heal wars, imagine what it can do in your personal relationships. The Furning, Buddhist deepening, the four immeasurables. Buddhism teaches the four Brahma-viharas, the sublime attitudes that embody awakened love. 1. Metta, loving kindness. 2. Karuna, compassion. 3. Mudita, sympathetic joy. 4. Upekkha, equanimity. These are not egoic emotions. They arise naturally when presence is strong. Tolle's message mirrors this. When you are rooted in the now, love flows naturally, effortlessly. It is not something you do. It is what you are. Real-world story, Nelson Mandela and forgive. Nelson Mandela, after 27 years of imprisonment, emerged not bitter, but radiant with forgiveness. He said, resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. Mandela did not carry the past into each moment. He faced former enemies with presence and compassion, building a new nation from the ruins of hatred. He showed that even the deepest wounds can be healed, not through mental strategies, but through presence meeting presence. Practical reflection, are you relating or projecting? Ask yourself, when I interact with others, am I truly with them? Or am I interacting with my idea of them, my story, my expectations? The mind reduces people to characters in its inner drama. Presence restores their full aliveness. Each person is a living mystery, not an object to control, but a being to honor. Opposite. Love without conditions. Tolle emphasizes, true love has no opposite. If your love has an opposite, then it is not love, but a strong ego need for a sense of self. Conditional love says, I love you if you meet my needs. I love you because you make me feel good. True love says, I love you because you are. Buddhist compassion is the same. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. No conditions, no exceptions, just presence meeting presence, pure, luminous, free. Real world story. Mother Teresa and self's presence. Mother Teresa served the poorest of the poor in Calcutta, not because they could repay her, but because she saw Christ in every face. She said, "We are not called to do great things, but small things with great love." Her secret was presence. Each dying person was not a burden, but a sacred opportunity to meet the divine. You don't need to serve in slums to practice this. Every interaction with a partner, a child, a stranger can be a doorway to awakened love if you bring full presence, transforming relationships through presence. Tolle teaches, presence is the key to freedom, so you can only be free now. The same presence that liberates you inwardly transforms your relationships outwardly. When you are fully present, you listen deeply, you love without demand, you forgive naturally, you meet others as they truly are. This is not idealistic or sentimental, hey, it is deeply practical and revolutionary. You don't need to fix others, you don't need to fix yourself. You only need to awaken into the now and let love flow from the stillness within. Thus, the Buddha smiled silently. Thus, Tolle smiles silently. Because in presence, all relationships find their true home, not in clinging, but in being. Part 8, Facing Emotional Pain and Dissolving the Pain Body. Tolle introduces a powerful concept, the pain body. The pain body is an accumulation of old emotional pain that lives inside most people. It's like an energetic entity, formed by layers of old hurts, unresolved emotions, suppressed grief, anger, shame, and fear. The pain body is semi-autonomous. When triggered, it takes over your mind and emotions, causing you to act and speak in ways that intensify suffering. You say things you regret, you hurt those you love, you spiral into despair, rage, or numbness. Tolle's radical message. The pain body wants to survive, just like any other entity. It feeds on negative emotions. Thus, it seeks conflict, drama, and suffering. Not because you are evil, but because old pain seeks more pain to sustain itself. Buddhist deepening samskaras and karmic imprints. Buddhism has long recognized a similar phenomenon. The samskaras, mental and emotional impressions left by past experiences, live within the subconscious mind. Unresolved samskaras shape your perceptions, influence your behaviors, color your emotions. Without mindfulness, you are not free. You are simply reacting based on old conditioning. The Buddha taught that liberation requires seeing these samskaras clearly, understanding their nature, dissolving them through awareness and wisdom. Tolle's pain body is a modern framing of this ancient insight. Oprah Winfrey speaks openly about carrying deep wounds from childhood abuse and neglect. For years, she said pain ruled her relationships and self-worth. But through therapy, meditation, and presence practices, she began to recognize her pain body, not as her true self, but as wounded energy seeking healing. Oprah realized, you are not your history. By bringing compassion and awareness to her pain, she transformed it into power. Today, she inspires millions not through perfection, but through her authentic vulnerability and awakened strength. How the pain body gets triggered. Tolle describes common triggers. Someone criticizes you, a partner behaves insensitively, you feel abandoned, overlooked, or betrayed. Even a memory resurfaces seemingly out of nowhere. When triggered, the pain body floods you with old emotions, distorts your thinking, makes you identify with the pain. You may say, I am worthless. No one loves me. Life is against me. But these are not facts. They are voices of the pain body. Recognizing this is the beginning of freedom. Buddhist deepening, mindfulness of Vedana. The Buddha taught the practice of mindfulness of feelings, Vedana. When a painful emotion arises, 1. Acknowledge it without resistance. 2. Feel it directly without adding mental commentary. 3. Recognize its impermanence, that it is simply a passing phenomenon. 4. Let it go without clinging or aversion. This is exactly what Tolle advises. Instead of being the pain, be the space for the pain. You do not fight it, you do not become it. You hold it in awareness, like a parent holding a crying child. In this embrace, the pain body cannot survive. Awareness is the sunlight that dissolves the frozen knots of suffering. Real-world Stodren and welcoming pain. Buddhist nun Pema Chodron tells a story. During a particularly painful time in her life, she wanted to escape her suffering through distractions, but her teacher told her, feel the feelings. Drop the story. Instead of running from fear, loneliness, and grief, she learned to turn toward them with compassionate presence. Pema says, "Nothing ever goes away until it teaches us what we need to know." Today, she teaches thousands to embrace their pain bodies with patience, humor, and courage. Practical application: dissolving the pain body. Tolle outlines simple but profound steps. 1. Recognize the pain body when it awakens. Notice sudden mood shifts, reactivity, inner negativity. Name it silently. The pain body is active. This naming weakens its grip. 2. Shift attention to the feeling, not the story. Feel the raw emotion in the body: tightness, heat, heaviness, agitation. Do not feed the mental narrative. Anchor awareness in the physical sensation. 3. Stay present without resistance. Allow the energy to unfold naturally. Breathe into it. Let it pass without acting it out or suppressing it. In this sacred space, the pain body burns itself out. Each time you stay present with it, its power diminishes. Deeper insight: pain is not personal. Tolle teaches, the pain you carry is part of the collective human pain body. It's not your pain exclusively. It's humanity's ancient suffering flowing through you. When you hold it in awareness, you are not just healing yourself, you are helping to heal the collective consciousness. The Buddha saw this too. When one person awakens, the whole world benefits. Real world Viktor Frankl's triumph of the spirit. Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl endured unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps. Yet he discovered everything can be taken from a man, but one thing: the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Frankl refused to let the external horrors define his inner being. He practiced presence amid hell, transforming suffering into meaning. His book, Man's Search for Meaning, has inspired millions to rise above their pain bodies and reclaim their inner freedom. Practical reflection: embracing your pain. Today, consider, what recurring emotional patterns arise in your life? Can you recognize when the pain body is active? Instead of fighting it or feeding it, can you simply be with it? Every moment of conscious awareness loosens the chains of past pain. Little by little, the pain body dissolves. What remains is not emptiness, but radiant presence, your true nature, shining through. Tolle's great gift is this: he shows that you are not broken, you are not damaged goods. You are the open sky, and the storms of the pain body are passing clouds. With presence, pain is met with compassion. Trauma becomes a doorway to wisdom. Old patterns lose their power. This is the essence of Buddhist liberation: freedom from suffering through deep, loving awareness. You don't need to fight your darkness. You need only to bring it into the light, and the light of presence does the rest. Part 9. The Power of Surrender. True strength, not weakness. Surrender. In modern society, surrender often sounds like defeat. We associate it with losing battles, giving up, weakness, powerlessness. But Eckhart Tolle turns this idea upside down. He says, surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to rather than opposing the flow of life. Surrender does not mean giving up action. It means giving up inner resistance to what is. It is an internal posture of acceptance, not defeat. Buddhist deepening, acceptance, and equanimity. In Buddhist teachings, this principle is called upekkha, equanimity or serene acceptance of reality. Equanimity is not passive indifference. It is the steady wisdom of embracing life as it unfolds without clinging to pleasure or recoiling from pain. When you surrender internally, you stop fighting the present moment. You align with the flow of reality. You act with clarity, not from fear or resentment. The Buddha taught that true peace arises not from controlling life, but from being at peace with life itself. Tolle's surrender mirrors this ancient insight beautifully. In Real World Story, Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison under brutal conditions. He had every reason to fall into bitterness, rage, and hopelessness. But instead, Mandela chose inner surrender. He accepted the reality of his imprisonment without letting it define his soul. When he emerged, he said, "As I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." Mandela's surrender was not weakness. It was the foundation of his strength, his leadership, his ability to forgive and heal a divided nation. How resistance creates suffering. Tolle explains that suffering is born not from external events, but from your resistance to those events. Something happens. You say internally, "This shouldn't be happening. This is unfair. I can't accept this." This resistance turns pain into prolonged suffering. Tolle says, suffering begins the moment you mentally label a situation as bad and wrong. The event itself is neutral. Your mind's judgment creates the suffering. When you surrender, you drop the mental labeling. You say, "It is as it is." From that place of inner openness, wise action becomes possible. Buddhist deepening, the second arrow. The Buddha used a famous analogy. The first arrow is the unavoidable pain of life, sickness, aging, death, loss. The second arrow is your resistance, the anger, fear, and sorrow you add. You cannot avoid the first arrow, but you can avoid the second. Surrender is refusing to shoot yourself with the second arrow. It is choosing presence over resistance. Real-world story, J.K. Rowling's surrender to failure. Before publishing Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling faced extreme hardship. Divorce, single motherhood, poverty, numerous rejections from publishers. She once said, "Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life." Rowling surrendered to her circumstances. Instead of resisting the reality of her struggles, she accepted them and kept writing. Her surrender to what is became the soil for creativity and renewal. Practical application, practicing inner surrender. Tolle suggests practical ways to embody surrender. 1. Notice resistance in your body. Tightness in the stomach, clenching of fists, shallow breathing. These are signs of inner resistance. Bring gentle awareness to these sensations. 2. Mentally say yes to the present moment. When something difficult arises, internally affirm, "Yes, this is what is happening now." It doesn't mean you like it. It means you stop fighting reality. 3. Act from presence, not from reaction. Surrender does not mean becoming passive. After accepting what is, you can still take wise action, but now it flows from clarity, not fear or anger. Deeper insight. Tolle reveals, the ego lives through resistance. When you surrender, the ego dies. The ego needs to be right, be in control, feel superior or victimized. Surrender threatens the ego's survival. It feels like death. But from the ashes of the ego's resistance, your true self, spacious, peaceful, loving, is born. The Buddha called this the death of self-clinging, attavada. Through surrender, you step out of the prison of ego into the vastness of being. Real-world story, Thich Nhat Hanh's peaceful surrender. During the Vietnam War, Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh witnessed horrific suffering. He could have surrendered to despair. Instead, he practiced engaged Buddhism, acting with deep compassion while accepting the reality of suffering. He said, "When we accept ourselves as we are, we become relaxed and are able to enjoy every moment of life deeply." Thich Nhat Hanh's surrender was not passivity, it was an active, loving presence that healed and inspired millions. Practical reflection, where can you surrender today? Ask yourself, where am I resisting life? Can I allow the present moment to be as it is? What happens when I stop labeling and opposing what's happening? You may find that when you surrender, the weight you've been carrying drops away. And in that lightness, solutions, insights, and peace emerge naturally. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving up the illusion of control. It is trusting life even when you don't understand it yet. Through surrender, you end inner warfare, you find peace amidst chaos, you act from wisdom, not fear. This is not weakness. This is the greatest strength. It is the strength of the Buddha sitting serenely under the Bodhi tree. The strength of Mandela walking free. The strength of your own heart when you finally stop struggling and simply allow life to flow through you. Part 10. Everyday Awakening, Living Presence in Daily Life. The myth of special spiritual moments. Many people imagine spiritual awakening as something grand, a lightning flash of insight, a mountaintop epiphany, a once-in-a-lifetime event. But Eckhart Tolle clarifies, enlightenment is not a dramatic special event. It is the realization of presence in every moment. Awakening is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is something you live moment by moment. It's not about transcending daily life. It's about infusing daily life with sacred awareness, or Buddhist deepening right mindfulness, sama. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha emphasized right mindfulness, the constant remembering of the present moment. Mindfulness is not merely being attentive, it is being intimately aware of reality without distortion. In Buddhist texts, it's likened to a gatekeeper guarding a city, a shepherd tending sheep, a mother caring for her child. Mindfulness protects the heart from falling into forgetfulness, the root of suffering. Tolle's teaching is a modern echo of this timeless Buddhist wisdom. A Shield World Story, The Mindfulness of Mr. Rogers. Fred Rogers, beloved host of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, was known for his extraordinary presence. When talking with a child, he gave them his full, undivided attention, as if nothing else existed. Adults later said that a single conversation with him made them feel deeply seen and accepted. Mr. Rogers wasn't practicing something exotic. He was living ordinary moments with extraordinary mindfulness and compassion. This is the heart of daily awakening. Daydreaming. How the ego hijacks the present. Tolle explains that the ego resists presence in many ways. Mental commentary, judging everything that happens. Daydreaming, escaping into fantasies of past or future. Busyness, rushing through tasks without true attention. Self-centeredness, interpreting everything in terms of me and mine. The ego thrives in unconsciousness. Thus, the simple act of paying attention becomes a revolutionary act. Each moment of true presence weakens the ego's hold and strengthens your connection to being. Buddhist deepening right speech and right action. Mindfulness naturally extends into right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, meaningfully. Right action, behaving ethically, compassionately. When you are present, you listen more deeply. You speak with care, not impulsiveness. You act with wisdom, not reactivity. The Buddha taught that true morality does not arise from rigid rules, but from clear seeing, the kind of clear seeing that presence makes possible. Real-world story, Thich Nhat Hanh's Bell of Mindfulness. In his monastery, Thich Nhat Hanh installed mindfulness bells. Whenever the bell rang during any activity, everyone stopped briefly, breathed deeply, and returned fully to the present moment. He called this inviting the bell, rather than striking it. The bell was a gentle reminder, you have arrived, you are home, in the here and now. You don't need a literal bell. Every phone ring, red traffic light, or annoying delay can become your mindfulness bell if you choose to wake up. Practical application, bringing presence into daily routines. Tolle offers simple practices for infusing ordinary life with presence. 1. Conscious breathing. Pause several times a day to take 3 conscious breaths. Feel the aliveness of the body. Return to now. 2. Present moment check-ins. Ask yourself periodically, am I fully here or lost in thought? Gently bring yourself back. 3. Mindful microtasks. Do simple activities, brushing your teeth, washing dishes, walking, with full attention. Feel the textures, notice the sounds, smell the scents, let the moment be enough. Or insight, presence in relationships. Presence in relationships, Tolle emphasizes, most relationships are not really between two people, but between two minds, two egos. When you are lost in mind, you don't relate to the person in front of you, you relate to your story about them. Presence transforms relationships. You listen without mentally preparing a reply. You see the other not as an object, but as a living mystery. You meet being to being, not ego to ego. This is the essence of true love, not emotional dependency, but presence recognizing presence. Real-world story, Ram Dass and the Power of Loving Awareness. Spiritual teacher and author of Be Here Now spoke often about loving awareness. Near the end of his life, after suffering a severe stroke, he described a profound shift. He could no longer speak fluently or move easily, but he found deeper presence than ever before. He said, "I am loving awareness." Even in physical limitation, the living presence within him shone ever brighter. He showed that awakening is not about perfect circumstances. It is about the spirit you bring to whatever circumstances arise. Practical reflection, your day as a spiritual practice. Imagine, every conversation is a chance to practice deep listening. Every meal is an opportunity to taste and savor fully. Every task, even mundane, becomes a meditation. Life is not an obstacle to your spiritual path. Life is your spiritual path. Every moment holds the key to awakening if you are willing to be present for it. The sacred ordinary. You don't need to climb a mountain, enter a monastery, seek a guru. The sacred is right here, in the way sunlight dances on your floor, in the kindness of a stranger, in the simple act of breathing in and breathing out. When you live with presence, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The mundane becomes miraculous. The now becomes your gateway to timeless being. This is true awakening, not fleeing the world, but fully embracing it with open eyes, open heart, open hands. Part 11, Healing the Pain Body and Will Awakening Through Presence, Understanding the Pain Body. Eckhart Tolle introduces a crucial concept. The pain body is an accumulation of old emotional pain living inside you. It is a semi-autonomous energy field composed of past hurt, unresolved grief, anger, fear, resentment. It feeds on negative thoughts and experiences, seeking drama and conflict to sustain itself. The pain body can lie dormant, then suddenly activate, triggered by a word, a memory, or a life situation. When it takes over, you are no longer fully yourself. You become a vessel for ancient suffering. Buddhist deepening, samskara and klesha. In Buddhism, the pain body closely parallels the ideas of samskara, mental and emotional formations from past karma, klesha, emotional afflictions like anger, craving, and ignorance. The Buddha taught that suffering is stored in the mind-body complex like seeds. Without mindfulness, these seeds sprout into reactive suffering over and over again. Tolle's pain body is a modern articulation of these ancient Buddhist truths. Real-world story, Oprah Winfrey's emotional healing. Oprah Winfrey, who deeply resonated with Tolle's work, shared her own experiences of healing the pain body. Growing up with poverty and abuse, Oprah carried deep wounds of shame and anger. For years, she sought validation through achievement. Only when she began confronting her emotional pain directly, through mindfulness, therapy, and spiritual practice, did true healing begin. Her life story reflects a profound truth. You cannot outrun the pain body. You must turn toward it with conscious love. The pain body's strategy, feeding on unconsciousness. The pain body wants you to identify with it. I am angry. Act from it. Lash out, blame, hurt. Justify it, cling to victim narratives. It thrives on unconscious emotional reactivity. Thus, whenever you are overtaken by intense, disproportionate emotion, you can be almost certain the pain body is active. It's not you. It's old pain seeking survival through your attention. Buddhist deepening, the two arrows. The Buddha described suffering through the metaphor of two arrows. 1, the first arrow is unavoidable pain, loss, illness, disappointment. 2, the second arrow is self-inflicted suffering, anger, rumination, blame. The pain body is the energy behind the second arrow. Presence interrupts the second arrow, breaking the chain of suffering. Practical application, recognizing the pain body. Tolle offers steps for healing. 1, witness it, don't identify. Notice emotional activation without labeling it me. Say inwardly, this is the pain body, I observe it. 2, feel it in the body. Shift attention away from the storyline in the mind to the raw sensation in the body. Where do you feel tightness, heat, contraction? Stay with pure sensation. 3, allow without feeding. Neither suppress the pain body nor act it out. Simply allow it to be, bathed in the light of awareness. Presence itself is the healer. Oral story, Nelson Mandela's transformation. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. Emerging from captivity, he showed no bitterness or revenge. How? Mandela spent years confronting his pain internally, transforming resentment into compassion. He said, "As I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew that if I did not leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison." He demonstrated the miracle of conscious emotional transformation, the dissolution of the pain body through presence. Collective pain bodies. Tolle points out, pain bodies are not just personal. There are collective pain bodies, racial trauma, national grief, historical injustices. Whole groups of people can be possessed by ancient pain, repeating cycles of violence and retribution. Healing the world, therefore, begins with healing ourselves. Each time you dissolve a piece of your personal pain body, you contribute to the collective liberation of humanity. Buddhist deepening. In Mahayana Buddhism, the Bodhisattva vows, beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them. But this liberation is not external alone. It begins internally, by liberating your own heart from affliction. When you heal your pain body, you become a source of peace for others. Your very presence becomes medicine for the world. Practical application, pain body healing meditation. Try this simple practice. 1. Sit quietly. 2. Recall a situation that stirs emotional pain. 3. Drop the mental story. Focus entirely on bodily sensation. 4. Breathe gently into the area of discomfort. 5. Say silently, I see you, I allow you, I am here with you. 6. Feel the contraction slowly soften in the light of presence. Each time you do this, you loosen the pain body's grip. You reclaim your essential freedom. The alchemy of presence. The alchemy of awakening is not avoiding pain, but transforming it through conscious presence. Old anger dissolves into compassion. Old grief softens into wisdom. Old fear melts into trust. The pain body is not your enemy. It is your spiritual classroom. Through it, you learn patience, forgiveness, unshakable freedom. Tolle's message and the Buddha's message converge here. Suffering is not the end, it is the doorway to profound awakening. Part 12, The Art of Surrender, Ending Inner Resistance. Understanding surrender. Eckhart Tolle teaches, surrender is the simple but profound wisdom of yielding to rather than opposing the flow of life. Many misunderstand surrender. It does not mean passivity or giving up. Rather, it means letting go of inner resistance to what is, accepting the present moment completely, aligning yourself with reality rather than fighting it. Surrender is active participation with life, not defeat. It creates a spaciousness inside you that allows true change and creativity to arise. Buddhist deepening. Acceptance. In Buddhism, surrender aligns with the perfection of kshanti. Kshanti, the paramita of patience, forbearance, and acceptance. The Buddha emphasized that true strength lies in the ability to endure, to accept reality as it is, without clinging, without aversion. Endurance is the highest austerity, Dhammapada. Shanti is not weakness, it is heroic, requiring immense courage and clarity. Real-world story, Viktor Frankl's radical acceptance. Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, discovered that while he could not control his external circumstances, he could control his inner response. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Frankl surrendered, not by resigning to despair, but by accepting his suffering and finding meaning within it. Through surrender, he accessed profound inner freedom, even amid unimaginable horror. The mechanics of resistance. Tolle explains, whenever you mentally say, "This should not be happening, this moment is wrong, I can't accept this," you create resistance. This resistance generates suffering. Pain is often inevitable, loss, illness, injustice, but suffering arises when we argue with reality. Surrender ends the argument. Buddhist deepening, the second noble truth. The Buddha's second noble truth states, suffering arises from craving, the desire for reality to be different than it is. This craving leads to dukkha, dissatisfaction, frustration, misery. Surrender is the antidote. It dissolves craving at its root by meeting reality with openness and humility. Practical application, 3 stages of surrender. Tolle describes stages of surrender. 1, resistance. You feel anger, frustration, blame. Why me? 2, acceptance. You acknowledge the situation without emotional reactivity. This is what is. 3, joyful alignment. You align so fully with the present moment that inner peace, even joy, arises. I trust the deeper unfolding of life. Each stage deepens presence. Real-world story, Malala Yousafzai's brave surrender. Malala Yousafzai, after surviving an assassination attempt by the Taliban, did not resist reality with hatred or bitterness. Instead, she surrendered to the truth of what had happened, and from that acceptance, she chose to advocate for peace and education. Her surrender gave her strength. Even if they come to kill me, she said, I will tell them what I want to say. She transforms suffering into fearless compassion. Deeper insight: surrender is not resignation. Tolle emphasizes resignation is passive, heavy, victim-like. There's nothing I can do. Surrender is dynamic, alive, powerful. I accept this moment completely and act from clarity. Surrender brings you into empowered stillness. From that stillness, wise and skillful action becomes possible. In Buddhist terms, this is right action, samyak karmanta, arising not from reactive emotion but awakened wisdom. Buddhist deepening, the story of Kisa Gotami. Kisa Gotami, devastated by the death of her child, sought the Buddha to bring her son back to life. The Buddha instructed her to find a mustard seed from a home untouched by death. After visiting countless homes, she realized death touches everyone. Through this surrender to impermanence, her heart broke open to wisdom. Kisa Gotami did not abandon love. She surrendered her attachment and thus transcended her suffering. Application: surrender practice. You can practice surrender in daily life. 1. Whenever frustration or resistance arises, pause. 2. Take a conscious breath. 3. Feel the inner tightness. 4. Say silently, I allow this moment to be as it is. 5. Act, if needed, from that inner spaciousness, not from reactivity. This simple practice transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for awakening. Michael J. Fox's graceful surrender. Michael J. Fox, diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, initially resisted his fate with anger and denial. Eventually, through surrender, he found peace and purpose in advocacy. He said, "Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means understanding that something is what it is and that there's got to be a way through it." His life is a testament to surrender, leading to deeper fulfillment. The power hidden in surrender. Paradoxically, surrender is not defeat. It is the doorway to true power. Resistance creates suffering. Surrender creates freedom. By ending the inner war against reality, you step into a larger intelligence, the very flow of life itself. Both Tolle and the Buddha reveal, true freedom is not found by conquering life, but by surrendering so completely that you realize you and life were never separate. Part 14, the true nature of suffering and liberation. In exploring the true nature of suffering and liberation, it's essential to examine both the Buddhist perspective on dukkha, suffering, and nirvana, liberation, and how they resonate with Eckhart Tolle's teachings on presence and freedom beyond form. The Buddhist concept of suffering. In Buddhist teachings, dukkha, often translated as suffering, encompasses more than just physical pain. It reflects the inherent dissatisfaction that permeates our existence. This dissatisfaction arises from 3 fundamental causes. 1. The impermanence of all things. Everything we attach ourselves to, be it material objects, relationships, or even our own identity, is subject to change. The Buddha described this as anicca, or impermanence, the recognition that nothing is static. 2. The imperfection of life. Even moments of joy or success are temporary, leaving us longing for more or feeling that something is missing. This aspect of dukkha highlights that even happiness is fleeting. 3. The dissatisfaction of life itself. Our experience of life is colored by suffering because of our constant desires, attachments, and aversions. This is the suffering of not being at peace with what is. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from craving and attachment, which are rooted in the illusion of a permanent self. When we let go of these attachments, we can experience freedom, or nirvana. The concept of nirvana. Nirvana is often misunderstood as simply the cessation of suffering, but in the deeper Buddhist context, it represents liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara. Nirvana is the realization that the self is not what we think it is, and through that realization, we come to experience freedom. This liberation isn't about escaping from life or detaching completely from reality. Rather, it's about fully experiencing life as it is, free from the mental constructs and illusions that bind us. The Buddha's teaching on nirvana points to a state of awakening, where one transcends personal suffering by recognizing the interdependence and interconnectedness of all things. Eckhart Tolle's parallel teachings on freedom beyond form. Eckhart Tolle, in his teachings, often emphasizes presence as the path to freedom. He speaks of the pain body, which is the accumulated emotional and mental suffering from the past that we carry in our bodies. This is similar to the Buddhist idea of samskaras, or the deep impressions left by past experiences. Tolle's approach to overcoming the pain body involves becoming aware of the present moment and dissociating from the ego, the false sense of self. Tolle's notion of freedom is directly parallel to the Buddhist concept of nirvana, freedom from the sense of self, and a deep, experiential understanding that our identity is not rooted in form. He teaches that by deeply embracing the present, we can transcend the egoic mind that keeps us trapped in cycles of suffering and attachment. In the same way the Buddha taught to observe suffering with mindfulness, Eckhart Tolle suggests we observe the mind and emotions with the same detachment. Presence, for both Tolle and Buddhism, is the doorway to liberation. By being fully aware of our thoughts and emotions without identifying with them, we transcend the ego and experience the inner peace of being, much like the freedom described in Nirvana, bridging the gap between Buddhist teachings and Eckhart Tolle's insights. The core similarity between Buddhist teachings and Eckhart Tolle's philosophy is the emphasis on awareness and presence. Both teachings encourage stepping away from the ego and cultivating mindfulness. For Buddhists, this practice is a direct route to nirvana, a deep, liberating insight into the impermanence of self. For Tolle, this presence is the path to a state of inner stillness beyond the emotional turmoil of the ego. What is often lost in modern interpretations of both teachings is that the cessation of suffering isn't about denying emotions, avoiding the world, or detaching from relationships. It's about developing a deeper awareness that allows one to experience life more fully. Nirvana, like Tolle's inner peace, is not a state of non-existence, but a full acceptance of existence in its raw, unfiltered form. It is an experience of oneness with the present moment, where suffering ceases not because we escape it, but because we stop resisting it. Real-life example: the power of mindfulness in overcoming suffering. To illustrate the point, let's take the example of a person going through a challenging relationship. The person feels emotionally drained, constantly caught in cycles of frustration and fear. From the Buddhist perspective, their attachment to the self, the belief they are defined by the relationship, is the root cause of suffering. The relationship becomes a mirror for their insecurities, and any perceived rejection or conflict feeds into their sense of inadequacy. Applying mindfulness, the practice of becoming deeply aware of their feelings without judgment or attachment, helps the individual break free from these patterns. By focusing on the breath, observing the emotions as they arise, and simply being present with the feelings, the person begins to detach from the idea that they are the sum of their emotions. This practice leads to the realization that suffering is temporary, and the individual is not defined by the turmoil of the relationship. The practice of mindfulness, much like Eckhart Tolle's teachings, reveals that the present moment is the key to freedom. The individual begins to see that their suffering wasn't the problem. It was their resistance to the present moment and their attachment to a false sense of self that caused the pain. The path to liberation through presence. Ultimately, both Buddhist teachings and Eckhart Tolle's philosophy converge on one simple but profound point. Liberation comes when we let go of the self. The constant striving, attachment, and identification with our thoughts, bodies, and emotions keep us trapped in suffering. But by cultivating mindfulness and presence, we free ourselves from these attachments. The true nature of nirvana, or liberation, is the deep peace that arises when we are no longer entangled in the drama of the ego. As we align ourselves with the present moment, we begin to experience the aliveness that permeates the body and the world around us. Suffering is not eliminated by escape, but by embracing the reality of existence as it is, free from resistance, free from fear, and deeply aware of the present moment. In closing, whether through Buddhist mindfulness or Eckhart Tolle's teachings, the path to freedom is one of awakening to the reality of who we truly are, beyond the illusions of the self. This is the liberation that both traditions speak of, a liberation that can be experienced in every moment, here and now. Embracing the path of liberation. In this exploration of suffering, liberation, and the true nature of freedom, we've journeyed through the timeless wisdom of Buddhism and the contemporary insights of Eckhart Tolle. Both offer powerful paths to transcend the illusions of the self the ego, and the suffering that comes from attachment. At the heart of both traditions lies the understanding that suffering is not an inherent part of life, but a result of our resistance to the present moment, our attachment to things, people, and identities that are fleeting. The Buddha's teachings on dukkha and nirvana, and Tolle's emphasis on the importance of presence and the release of the ego, converge in their call for awakening. They invite us to step out of the cycle of suffering, to fully experience life with mindfulness, and to realize that liberation is found within, not in escaping life, but in embracing it with awareness and compassion. The key takeaway is simple, yet profound. True freedom is not about controlling the world around us or avoiding pain. It is about shifting our relationship with ourselves and our experiences. By cultivating mindfulness and presence, we are able to see through the illusion of the self and awaken to a deeper truth. This truth is that suffering is not permanent, and that by letting go of our attachments, we can experience the profound peace and liberation of the present moment. As you continue your own journey, remember that liberation is not a far-off destination, but a living, breathing experience that you can access at any time. It is available to you now, in the quiet of your breath, the stillness of your heart, and the mindfulness of your thoughts. Whether you approach this path through Buddhist practice or Eckhart Tolle's teachings, know that the freedom you seek is already within you, waiting to be recognized. May you find peace, may you find clarity, and may you discover the joy of living in harmony with the present moment.